Hello fellow potters! Today I'm going to review 4 of my favorite green glazes. I'm going to review Amaco's Seaweed, Chun Seafoam, which is a glaze I'm going to mix myself, Mayco's Ivy, and Spectrum's Cactus. So if any of these 4 glazes are something that you've been interested in, feel free to watch. We're going to glaze, and then at the end we're going to do a reveal of how my tests came out of the kiln. The next glaze I'm going to use is seaweed. There's not much in there, it's almost empty. This was one of the first glazes I ever bought when I started my ceramics journey, and it has always been a great glaze. I have found that the expansion, at least at one point in the beginning when I was testing it, the expansion was a little bit high for my clay, and I was getting a bit of crazing, but I honestly can't remember. It's been so long since I've tested it by itself on this clay that I'm going to go ahead and try that one more time and see what we get. This is it on B-Mix 5. And we'll see if we get any crazing or if it's good to go. Okay, so that's gonna need another coat. This one's gonna be fine. I'm also going to do Seaweed versus Chun Seafoam on a red clay. And this is a red clay with a white base coat already. If you haven't already watched my video on mixing Studio White glaze as a way to make your commercial glazes last longer, if you make the most out of your glazes. I want to test it against Chun Seafoam. I feel like I've had fairly similar results from these two over white. Obviously the Chun Seafoam glaze has more copper carbonate in it, and I am suspecting that the seaweed glaze may actually have some chrome in it. So we'll see. We'll see what the reaction is over an iron-rich clay, how they come out. And I don't know if you can see this, but it's Chun Seafoam dripping all over the place. First Chun Seafoam, let it spill back in. Okay. Making a mess. Alright, there's that glaze. We are doing Ivy. I'm trying to remember. Ivy, I believe, is a newer glaze for Mayco. I think that was last year in the sample packs, and I definitely loved it from the sample pack, and it was one of those ones where when I ran out in the sample pack, I went to reach for it the next time and I was like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna buy a big container of that, because it really is a great glaze. And I noticed that it sold really well. I was like, part of me was like, oh, I've got so many green glazes, I've got all the green glazes, but I was like, this one seems to really perform well, and it does some interesting things. So okay, so that one will be done, and then we're going to do Ivy over black. So glazing, trying to do as long a strokes as you can so you're not getting too many brush marks if possible. I know it's hard. Sometimes you're like, okay, today, Cactus. Cactus by Spectrum. This is a great glaze. I use this glaze a lot. I feel like this cactus glaze goes really well with sangria, kimchi. There's a lot of combinations. I used to do a desert sunset combo glaze. It had some of this as sort of the green earth tone layer, and then some sandstone sand, and then some sunset kind of stuff going on. It's a really great combo. I should bring that out again. Cactus is, you can see it's got a little bit more chrome in the formula. So you're gonna get kind of that, more of that army green look when you're first putting it on. So this glaze, I think, while it's nice by itself, I like it far better when it's over white. So let's do that. This is going to be it over white. So again, because two of these tests already have a base glaze dip on them, I'll only be adding the one coat over. And you can notice here that I'm also layering down so that this glaze has some room to move if it's going to move. It usually doesn't. These are usually pretty well behaved glazes, but it's such a small little dish. Sometimes the application can be really tight. Okay, Cactus. I'm going to do Cactus on a dark one just so that we have that to compare. I can't remember if this is going to crawl on here or not. Not all commercial glazes play well with this Hansen 25 recipe that I'm using. So a lot of commercial glazes will crawl if that's something you're trying to do. Little finger holes here, finger hole here. I'm gonna kind of swipe in the middle here again. And then around that top edge. Okay. That one's good. This one here was Ivy. Little swipe. Maybe a little thick there. That's okay. And around that top edge. Ready to put these in the kiln and see what we end up with. Hopefully there'll be some good results. Can't wait. See you tomorrow. All right, let's get into our green tests and show how they all came out. This is Cactus over white versus Cactus by itself. More of a army green when it's by itself. This is Chun Seafoam by itself. You can see in a few places where there's only one coat of the glaze, so it's very sensitive to how many coats you put on. Less so if you're using it over white. This is Chun Seafoam over white. Chun Seafoam over white on a dark clay. So again, really great coverage here, and pinholes, I don't really even see any pinholes. Sometimes the red clay can be kind of finicky as to what glazes it'll work with, but this looks pretty perfect to me. Okay, let's go on to seaweed. Okay. This is seaweed over white on a red clay. Seaweed overnight on a overnight glaze. The recipe for night will be linked in the description. Seaweed by itself. Seaweed over white. It might be one of my favorites of the tests. It's pretty, like, this line right here is really beautiful. It kind of blends into the white. It's pretty. this larger dish here is seaweed over white on a red clay. See a slight minor imperfection there. It looks like just maybe a bump on the clay. I don't know that it's actually a glaze imperfection. Looks good. Okay, so that's our seaweed. And we've got Chun Seafoam over here. Okay, and this is Ivy by itself. 2 coats. Ran a little bit right here, so make sure you're keeping that second coat right up near the top. I just layer down on this, but not quite enough, but that'll grind right off. This is Ivy over white. Still getting some of that variation. Looks pretty. Yep. Very nice. And this is Ivy over night, which really shows some of this, I don't know, brownish red color that's in the glaze. Very cool. I like the little fingers of the glaze right here. Sometimes I'm looking at this as I would a vertical surface, so that if I put this glaze on a cup, I know that the outside of the cup is going to have something like this, where the glaze sort of ends. It's going to be really pretty. Alright. Who's the winner? I think maybe for this batch, I think might be seaweed or ivy. I do like the slightly more blue of the Chun Seafoam, but I think they're all really great gleam glazes if you'd like to test any of them out yourself. Thanks for watching this comparison of some of my favorite gleam glazes. I hope they might be some of your favorites too in the future. Like and subscribe if you want to see more glaze reviews from me. Have a good day!